Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. My name is Mike Piroworski. I am your co-host from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most from the co-host with the most here on The Rundown, 2A views, conservative news, and Craig, it's that time of the week.
Yes, it is. It would be Hump Day.
Hump Day.
Uh-oh. Mike. What day is it, Mike? Uh-oh. Mike. What day is it, Mike?
It's Hump Day.
Hump Day.
That's right, folks.
Okay.
This is the day in which we attempt to begin the weekend, sometimes successfully, sometimes not so much. But hey, all the fun is in the trying.
That's right. This is day 3 of my weekend, Craig, because it's hurricane week here in Florida, so we're all on vacation, doing what we do. And if you see me keep glancing up, I've got the hurricane imagery going on the news here. We're right in the midst of it. It's supposed to get to where I am later in the day, but for now it's time for some rundown, baby.
Well, they're saying that it might get up to a Cat 5.
Listen, it's like 2 miles an hour off a Cat 5, so you can call that a Cat 5, I guess. Now that it's hit landfall, it's going to continue to go down. It's not going to get stronger, but I'll tell you, the area of Fort Myers Beach down there is pummeled. Watch the storm surge go to, was it like 20 feet? And you can see Tampa Bay north of that. The entire bay was like dry because everything is sucked out as the winds are moving westerly, circling back around and bringing all that punch down a little further south into Fort Myers Beach. So
Wow.
kind of interesting to watch. Now, hopefully, we won't find out till later. Nobody's hurt, nobody's injured, but just some property damage, and we'd be happy.
Well, that's good. Yeah, we're all praying for y'all out there once again for not significant damage. We're hoping,
Yep.
hoping everybody is okay. Yeah, they were saying on the news, it's like you guys haven't had anything like this. They were saying in 100 years.
Every time we get a hurricane, Craig, it's something that hasn't happened in 100 years. I mean, we just had a Cat 5 hit northern Florida, but I guess one is not going ashore at this address in 100 years. So
Right.
it's just,
well,
but
that's how they love to do it. That's how the media loves to push it. But anyway.
Oh yeah, sensationalize. And this is just another warning for you folks out there. If you want to live at the beach, you got consequences. All right.
Yes, it does. It does come with consequences.
Yep.
So, hey, Mike, before we get started, let's do a quick favor and give a quick shout out to our sponsors.
Sure. Let's say hello to our good friends over at Hitman Industries. That's hitmanindustries.net, hitmanindustries.net. If you got yourself an AR in the past 5 years or so, you may even have one of their barrels and not even know it. But now you could buy from them direct your own personal build. You want to replace the barrel in your rifle? Go right ahead. Hitmanindustries.net, hitmanindustries.net. Let's say hello to our good friends at the California Republican Assembly, fighting the good fight out there in California. Make sure you visit them and help out any way you can. And then, of course, you want some awesome combat gear, some tactical gear, some web gear, go to uscombatgear.com.
That's right, folks. These are the folks that bring us to you in hopes that we will bring you to them. They're the ones who sponsor the program. So do us a favor. Go to the links in the description of this program. Visit their website. If you like what you see, spend some money with them and make sure you tell them that the guys over at The Rundown sent you over. Also, if you haven't already done so, please make sure you like, share, subscribe. However you are partaking of the program, you can share it on your social media. Whether you're listening to the podcast, anywhere you get your podcast, or you're watching us on OpsLens, or if you're watching us on Facebook, YouTube, or on Rumble, or on Twitter, however you are partaking of the program, do us a favor, let your friends know, 1, that you are doing it, and number 2, that they can too.
That's it. Make sure you do it. Go out, like, subscribe, and share it. Get it done.
Do it. Do it now. Do it now. All right. Let's get into today's topics. Eric Adams has been probably one of the most, how is the word I want to look at? Interesting local elected officials that we've had in quite some time. Watching him walk the line between trying to be law and order and being a left-wing liberal has been interesting. He wants to be all things to all people, and he is failing miserably at both. And in this particular case, we're going to talk about his quote-unquote plan for a decompression strategy when it comes to immigration. Now, in this piece, he's talking about how we've got to come up with a national plan to deal with how we're going to handle immigration. But there's one problem, Mike. There's only really one person who he needs to be talking to about this policy. And for some reason, he seems to forget that, that dude you keep talking about, that's the president of the United States. He happens to be a member of your party, sir.
Yeah, amazing, right? He's trying to, Eric Adams is trying to find a way to say, hey, you need to do something about immigration without, calling out, the president and again, his own party. What's the word they came up with? We need a decompression strategy. I'm not sure what that means, Craig. Does that mean maybe we put gates back up and fences back up? Does that mean maybe we don't just have the express lane coming into the country here? A decompression strategy. They've got an incredible amount of people coming and being sent to New York City from Texas, but the only place that gets called, or the only individual that gets called out, is Governor Abbott. But as it turns out, based on this story, the people that are actually coming from El Paso, being sent by the Democrat mayor of El Paso, far surpasses the amount that Governor Abbott has sent here. And that mayor down there has done the same thing. Hey, well, we can't deal this whole burden ourselves. You sanctuary cities, you got to pitch in and do your part to help as well. Same final goal, but a different agenda than what Governor Abbott has, right? So, Governor and the mayor here is trying his best to walk that party line without saying enough. Okay.
Well, but what's funny is, and they note this in the piece, as was pointed out, by the way, by the New York Post, that far more of these immigrants have been sent to New York by the Democrat mayor of El Paso than by Governor Abbott. Governor Abbott is at least sharing the wealth. He's sending them multiple places, but it's really it's the mayor of San Antonio, once again, the Democrat mayor of San Antonio. That's the one that sent the bulk of the immigrants to them.
Yeah, Mayor Adams says he's frustrated with the fact that it's a national issue that must be resolved. Okay, hello, Joe Biden. He's talking to you. He's talking to the government. He's repeatedly, again, Mayor Adams has repeatedly attacked Governor Abbott, but he's not brought up El Paso Mayor Oscar Leeser at all.
Or he has not brought up President Joe Biden, who also has flown, who, by the way, was doing it before any of the Republicans started doing it, was also putting people on planes and flying them all across the country.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess the difference is the mayor in El Paso, he calls the mayor in New York and says they're on their way, whereas Governor Abbott just goes, how you doing? Nice to see you. They're here. He just,
well, the same way in which, by the way, the president does it, right?
Yeah,
he's just following the president's example.
Yep. Why don't you listen to a couple of things what the mayor says, Craig? And if you had to determine what party he was based on his statements, I'm curious. So let me ask you, when the mayor says, we requested money to deal with this crisis, that's what we did, and it's what we're going to continue to do. They requested $500 million in emergency federal funding from the Biden administration. Then he goes on to say, this is expensive, and we should not have to trade off dealing with the needs of New Yorkers and dealing with the needs of migrants and asylum seekers. But wait a second, Craig. I thought we're all equal here. It's one global world, and migrants and asylum seekers were just as important as New Yorkers were in a sanctuary city.
Well, according to them, they are. But the other interesting thing is talk about being equal. So in other words, this is what border states have been saying for a few years now. And yet the federal government has ignored them. Places like New York haven't stood up and said, hey, we agree with you. but now all of a sudden that they're forced to bear some of the burden. Now all of a sudden you're starting to hear them hear them complain. Well, you know what? You should have done. You took you long enough to finally say something. And while you're saying the right things, too little, too late, buddy. And by the way, they're saying this about 10,000, somewhere between 10 and 15,000 or 10 and 20,000. Imagine if you were getting that many in like a couple of days, every few days. I mean, you're talking 200,000 a month are coming across our southern border, and the border states are bearing the brunt of that.
Exactly. One final quote from the mayor here. He says, "This is not fair to New Yorkers. I have an obligation and responsibility to provide the resources that New Yorkers need, and I'm going to do that."
Sounds like a right-wing wacko to me.
It sounds like exactly what the rest of us are saying,
Sounds like
if we don't have resources, here's the deal.
Racist xenophobes right there.
Yep. Here's how it works. Listen, let's say, Craig, I got a hotel, and there's 100 rooms in the hotel, and I could there's 2 beds in every hotel. That's 200 people. You know what I do? I book 200 people. I don't let 500 people come in and then take 300 people and put them in tents behind the hotel. That's what's going on. That's the way we're dealing with this this immigrant crisis. And now the mayor of New York has decided, okay, I'm going to build a tent city in the Bronx. So he's putting up a tent city in some spare land up there in the Bronx. I got news for you, Governor, or for Mayor. His Honor. They tried that in the 80s in Miami at Chrome Detention Center. It was deemed unconstitutional to put migrants in a detention camp. So best of luck to you. They did that to Reagan. Now they're going to do it to Biden.
Yep. Pretty much. All right, let's move right along. Business Insider. Now, it used to be kind of an obscure little publication, and they used to be about writing stuff about business. Now they've just turned into a left-wing. I mean, basically they just promote whatever left-wing narrative is sent to them by the DNC. And I can't really think of a better way to put it. Here in this piece that they put together, and this is through Yahoo News, but it was published at the Business Insider. There was a gentleman he says he helped get immigrants on DeSantis flights to Martha's Vineyards, right? But now, Mike, he's saying that he regrets. He's saying that he regrets doing it. He's like, I never ever knew that it was a governor behind the stunt. Actually, no. Let me take that back. I don't know that he does say that he regrets doing it. It says he feels betrayed. There you go. Now, Mike, but this story isn't exactly as the headline purports it to be, is it?
Craig, the thing that caught my attention with this, and of course it involves Captain Florida, Governor DeSantis. So I try to glance at everything that comes out about him to watch the ridiculousness of the lies. And that's what drew my attention to this one. This story starts like, oh, well, sounds like they got the governor. Here's a guy they found on the ground that was recruiting them and sending them to Martha's Vineyard for the governor. But as you read through this story, it says, so let me get this one up here. I thought, let's see, I have this one up. Do I have this one up? I don't have this one up. Let me bring it up. It says that they, let me get his quote for you again. I don't know if we can bring that back up there, Craig. Let's see. All right. He says, come on, computer. Anytime we're ready. Here we go. He thought he was helping the migrants. He thought he was helping them because somebody had come around and asked him, said, listen, we want to get these people somewhere where they could have, services. Would you help us? And he was like, yeah. And he's an immigrant himself. He's also one of these people that's been in town for a month and has nowhere to go outside of San Antonio. So he started to find other people. I believe they're mostly Venezuelans where he's from. He says that he was always aware that there was a benefactor that it was paying for these things. And he was okay with that, right? But then when he found out it was a governor or a politician, he was like, oh, well, I feel betrayed now. So, Craig, it matters to this guy where the money comes from. Not that these people are being given a ticket to a sanctuary city, but he's betrayed because he wasn't told it was a politician that was paying for it as opposed to a rich benefactor.
One of the things I also noticed about this is, and once again, now this was a guy who was in Texas. So they're making it sound like, and I don't know if this is the case, that DeSantis was paying people in Texas to get people on these planes to go to Martha's Vineyard, and they never set foot in Florida.
Yeah, this is and I don't know that it says that. This it's not really clear in this story. What you hear, and we've seen this portion before, where there's this mystery woman that's going around asking people, do they want to go to a sanctuary city? Do they want to go someplace good? And they were giving out gift cards and some business cards of where to contact social services when they got there. And it was just basically like an 1-800 get help. It wasn't like go down to the corner and they'll be waiting for you.
Right.
And so, who that person is and putting them on these flights is still unclear. You and I could make an assumption, Craig, that it's the Biden administration, because again, Florida didn't get involved in this until these people showed up in Florida. Florida doesn't send agents of DeSantis around the country to help sign people up to go to New York. We got enough right here. We don't need to take the border crossers from Texas to send them there. And this guy gets up there and he sends a text. He goes, "Hey, there's nobody here to meet us." And they said, "Call the number. Just call the number. It's a sanctuary state. Their law says they have to help you. Go ahead and give those numbers a call." He says that they had to wait. They had to wait when they got to Martha's Vineyard. When they got there, he said everything was there was nobody there waiting. And the story actually claims that everything was voluntary. This guy says over and over again, everything was voluntary. Nobody forced him to get on a plane. Nobody tricked him. Nobody made him get back on a plane in Florida. Nobody sent him there against their will. Everything was voluntary. I think that's the big one from this story. Everything was voluntary, but it's buried down in the bottom of the story. Like the editor didn't read it, because otherwise, why would you print that in an anti-conservative? Why would you print that in a liberal newspaper?
Right. Well, I think their point once again is they're trying to make it out like, look what DeSantis is doing. But the problem is that you have a Democrat mayor of El Paso, Texas, who is doing the same thing. You have other Republican governors who are doing the same thing. You had the White House, the President of the United States, Immigration Service was doing the same thing. Yet, for some reason, they only want to focus on the Republicans who were doing it.
Craig, this closes with a sentence that I think just tells the whole story of how how deceiving the media can be. We're trying to portray things and trying to wag that dog, right? It says, as the final sentence in here, people in Martha's Vineyard came to the aid of the migrants, who were later relocated to a military base designated as an emergency shelter. We love
like
that
they got
you're
relocated.
Here. We love that you're here. We're going to help you get on that bus. We're going to help you get on that bus and get the hell out of town.
We're going to help you get the hell out of here.
That's it. Yeah.
Hey, it reminds me of our parting shot yesterday. We thought we were going to Martha's Vineyards, but they sent us away.
They sent us away. That's it.
The Mexican word of the day, DeSantis. All right. Yep. All right, moving right along. Texas appears to have an issue with the idea of concealed carry and 18-year-olds. Now, I kind of have I have a perspective on this one, but basically in this particular story, they're talking about, and this is at Texas Tribune. So Texas is actually going to be, the court basically filed and basically said that the ban on 18 to 20-year-olds being able to carry handguns is unconstitutional. Now, the state can decide whether or not they want to continue to fight. In this particular case, the Attorney General's office has said that they do plan to appeal. They don't have to, but Mike, I will tell you, and I'll give you an example. So in California, we had passed legislation that said whether it was we passed legislation defining marriage as between a man and a woman. And the only reason why at the federal level it would eventually wind up being deemed to be unconstitutional was because our attorney general and our governor refused to actually stand up for the law, right? This was an initiative passed by the voters of California. They refused to actually defend it, which, by the way, is the job of the Attorney General, is to defend California law.
That's right.
Historically, Republicans have defended California laws, as Attorney General, have defended California laws in court, even if they did not like them, because that's their job.
Right.
And so I think
Right.
in this particular case, what you're seeing from Mr. Paxton, who's the Attorney General, he's like, look, my job is to defend the state of Texas and the laws of the state of Texas, even if I don't like them. And I think that's what you got going on here.
Which I could understand that, Craig, but that means this guy is so small-brained that he doesn't see the big picture. You've got a state here that's leading, one of the leading chargers for gun rights in the country, the pro-Second Amendment, mecca of the country. You have a governor there who just made great moves in the last couple of months, 6 months, 8 months out of his current term here, to get gun rights, pumped up again as he comes into re-election here, 2 months away. And he's got now his Attorney General, what's his name? Paxton, is that his name here? Let's see. Ken Paxton is the Attorney General there in the state of Texas. Now, one thing to note, Craig, is that the Paxton's office, the Attorney General's office, is a separate office than the governor's office. That's an independent election. So whereas he is a Republican, he's not necessarily buddy with the governor. They're not necessarily on the same page. It's not like when the president gets elected and appoints as Attorney General. This guy was elected to that office. So, we know the case, Craig. You covered it for everybody. 18 to 20 was not able to carry a firearm there, concealed or a pistol. They were not able to carry a pistol legally. That law got found to be unconstitutional. And now this Attorney General is coming out and saying, why, we're gonna fight it. Why would you fight it? Why, if you're the state that's trying to move gun rights forward, why would you fight that? He should have been fighting that the whole time. I understand that you're, Craig, your point, and it's a good point that it's his job to stand up for the state of Texas. But when the state of Texas has got a bad law that you've been fighting against and your governor's been fighting against since day one, that's it. This is just hurting the people of Texas, and it's going to probably hurt the governor a little bit there as he comes into election time.
I don't disagree with you. I guess what I'm saying is that the job of Attorney General is once again to defend California's laws. Or to defend the state's laws, whether you agree with them or not. And what he's doing is he's saying, this is my job. And he is being more magnanimous, shall I say. He is in effect doing what his prescribed job is, as opposed to utilizing it to politically kill something with which he is opposed. Democrats would not do that. Democrats would go out of their way to kill it. I understand why he's doing it. I'm not saying that I agree with it. I'm just saying that I understand it, because I've seen it happen the exact opposite here in the state of California, where laws that were passed not once, but twice by the voters of California. Voters have voted twice to define marriage as between a man and a woman, the second time actually amending our Constitution. And as a result, now at the federal level, it's now same-sex marriage is deemed to be a constitutional right, because the governor of California and the Attorney General of California would not stand up and fight for a California law.
Right, and I got that, Craig.
Yeah.
But just the same as you have when you get to the federal level, when you have an Attorney General's office and a Department of Justice doing one thing, when another party comes in or another, they turn their back on that, or they abandon those cases that they have. So, I think it's easy enough for this guy here to realize that this is against the will of Texas and what's against the will of the current Texas government. But he's not. And it turns out that this guy has not always been the most Second Amendment friendly guy. He believes that he should be able to restrict, certain individuals.
Yeah, well, part of that is the whole law and order thing, the law and order part of the Republican Party that believes that anything that makes it easier on law. They believe when law enforcement, in particular, even if they're liberal law enforcement, tell them that, anybody who doesn't have anybody who's in a possession of a firearm outside of the home who doesn't wear a badge or a uniform is a bad guy with a gun. So he does subscribe to, I think, part of that. I'm just saying that I see it both ways. I still think he should be standing up for the Second Amendment.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and that's well, let's see what comes. I think within the next day or so, we might see the governor call and educate him.
Well, the other thing is that you might actually see a definitive ruling at a higher level. It might be a way in which just to get it so that the Supreme Court actually has to make a decision on it, in which case they would stand up for the right to bear arms, as we already know.
Yep, that'd be nice. But again, I think this guy's got a little bitty brain. I don't think he's thinking that far ahead. But we'll see. Let's see what happens.
All right. Well, you know what, Mike? He could be playing 3D chess the way that Donald Trump did when it came to bump stocks.
Yes, very true.
All right. This next one I found interesting. So right now, if you are a recruit in the Air Force and you test positive for significant levels of THC, which basically is weed, marijuana, the ganja, however you wish to refer to it, you can just get removed. You basically can lose your ability to be able to become a member of the Air Force. But the Air Force has greenlit, and it's just this funny that they use the term greenlit, waivers for THC positive applicants, meaning we could have some high flying Air Force recruits.
Hey, y'all want to get high?
You want to get high and go fly?
No,
I'm going to go fly without an airplane.
Craig, what got me on this one, this story here, and it was a kind of like a weird bunch of aha stories today that popped up in front of me. Listen, I get that the pool of applicants to join the military is declining. Historically, we have seen that, and I'm talking post draft, so post 70 to 73. Okay, when you lowered the standards in the military, whether that's for operational needs or just for recruiting needs, that the immediately following 4 years, you have an incredible amount of discipline problems and discharges that you never had before. It's there. Lower the standard, and guess what you get? You get a lower standard of soldier or airman or anything else like that. So that just happens. And why that lesson can't be learned, I don't know. It's simple. It's simple to me, but I guess to some it's not a big deal.
Well,
like you said, Craig, joining the Air Force or joining the Space Force, you have to be drug free to join the Air Force or join the Space Force. Now, here's what it is. It's Craig. It's not that they're going to give you a waiver if you smoked marijuana in the past. I get that. All right. Like a lot of agencies, whether it be any government agency, law enforcement, just a regular government job, when you go to apply, it's, typically you'll see like, okay, no marijuana in the last year and no cocaine in the last 5 years. You'll see a lot of that for job stuff. Even when you go for security clearances, that's kind of the standard. The problem with these people with this waiver is, Craig, the waiver's not for, okay, you smoked it 6 months ago, we're going to give you a waiver for that. The problem is they are giving the waiver if you come and show up, sign the papers, then take the test and come up positive. So you've got a group of allegedly the smartest recruits there are, and that's the Air Force and the Space Force. And they're told, don't show up to your recruiting station or to your military entrance processing station where they do the physicals. Don't do drugs, don't do alcohol, and don't show up like that. And they come and they say, oh, okay, all right, well, yeah, we got it. No drugs, no alcohol. They sign all their contract, they get ready to go away, and then they get high before they go, whether it's the day before, 15 days before, because we know pretty much THC shows up in the system for about 30 days. So these people that are allegedly the smartest recruits out there, Craig, can't even do math for 30 days. They show up. Why would you want to give somebody like that a waiver? Listen, we just found out after taking this test that you're a dumbass. And now we want to give you a waiver so we can have you. We still want to keep you. I don't understand that. I don't understand how, man, you failed the one test we gave you. What the heck? Come on in. Come on in and do the most important stuff we need you to do.
Yeah, exactly. You can't wait that long. Well, but keep in mind, Mike, and this is the thing that gets me about in particular marijuana. You have people who have multi-million-dollar contracts in professional sports that are getting dinged and losing their opportunities to make that money because they can't not get high.
Yes. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
That's not a good
listen,
thing. That is just not a good thing. I'm sorry, but it's not. And now we're going to now lower that level standard, and we're going to allow everybody in the military to come on board. Anyway, sir, hey, we're running up against it, so I'm going to have to move on real quick and go get on to our parting shots.
Listen, Craig, I wanted to go a little different with parting shots today because of the hurricane and everybody's feeling depressed and watching TV. I thought maybe we could have a little uplifting life advice for some people. Nothing to do with any of the stories really or anything else.
Very uplifting in life. Yeah. This first one, it says, I may look like I'm deep in thought, but 99% of the time, I'm thinking about what I'm going to eat later.
You know, a guy wrote that, right? You know, it had to be a guy.
Yeah, a guy wrote that. In fact, I'm pretty sure it was you.
Oh, wasn't me. Yeah, I just it was it. Yep.
This next one, this is a life hack. All right.
Yes.
So, guys, the best way to turn any sofa into a sofa bed is by telling your wife to calm down.
You need to calm down. All right. You just need to calm down.
Because that totally works, doesn't it?
Yep.
I don't know. Whenever I've said it to my wife, she totally calmed down, right?
Oh, yeah. Listen,
said no husband ever.
Yep.
All right, Mike, let's get a quick shout out to our sponsors before we head out.
Yep. Let's say hello again to our good friends over at Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. Make sure you check them out. Get yourself all your barrel needs. California Republican Assembly. Make sure you visit them maybe with your wallet in hand, help them out a little bit. And of course, if you want some awesome tactical gear, go to uscombatgear.com.
That's right, folks. Help them. Help us. Help you. Help them or help them. Anyway, go see them. Check them out. Links in the description to the program. Check them out. Anyway, gotta run. Very much appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate you liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will be back tomorrow on Thirsty Thursday. Talk to you again real soon.